4,000 warriors, 150 defenders, no escape. No reinforcements, just sacks of corn, a few rifles, and an unshakable will to survive. This is not fiction. This is Rorke's Drift, January 22nd, 1879. Just hours after a catastrophic British defeat at Isandlwana, a small outpost in South Africa became the stage for one of the most improbable last stands in military history. What followed was 11 hours of relentless assault, smoke, blood, and unthinkable courage. A battle that should have been over in minutes turned into legend. In early 1879, the British Empire launched an invasion into Zululand, expecting a quick campaign. The goal was domination. The plan was arrogance. 3 columns advanced through Zulu territory. But they underestimated the discipline, strategy, and raw power of the Zulu army. On January 22nd, at Isandlwana, over 1,300 British troops were annihilated by a force they had dismissed as primitive. It was one of the worst defeats the Empire had ever suffered. Meanwhile, just 20 kilometers away, 150 British soldiers were stationed at a supply station and missionary post called Rorke's Drift. It was barely fortified. Its walls were low, its perimeter wide open. Many of the men were engineers or hospital staff. They were led by 2 junior officers, Lieutenant John Chard, a Royal Engineer, and Lieutenant Gonville Bromhead of the 24th Regiment of Foot. Neither had seen large-scale combat, but both knew one thing: the Zulus were coming. News of Isandlwana reached them in the afternoon. Scouts confirmed that a 4,000-strong Zulu force was marching toward them. They had hours, maybe less, to prepare. Chard ordered the men to build barricades using anything available: mealie bags, biscuit boxes, wooden crates, overturned wagons. They turned the hospital and storehouse into strongpoints, connecting them with improvised walls. Every man was given a position. Every bullet counted. Then the dust rose. The sound of chanting filled the air. Thousands of Zulu warriors approached in formation, shields raised, spears ready. At around 4:30 p.m., they attacked. Wave after wave of Zulus rushed the barriers. The British fired Martini-Henry rifles with deadly precision. Each shot dropped a man, but there were always more. The air turned thick with smoke and screams. Zulus tried to climb the barricades, stabbing through gaps, battering the walls with their shields. The defenders held. They reloaded, fired, shouted commands. But the pressure mounted. Soon, the Zulus shifted their focus to the hospital, where wounded soldiers lay helpless inside. They set it on fire. As the flames spread, British troops smashed through interior walls, dragging the wounded room by room, bayoneting attackers as they burst through windows. Smoke choked the corridors. Blood soaked the floors. Men carried comrades on their backs while fighting hand to hand. One soldier, Private John Williams, reportedly fought through 11 rooms, rescuing patients under fire. The hospital eventually collapsed in flames. The Zulus came again and again, sometimes in hundreds, sometimes in small probing parties. Their discipline was terrifying, but so was the British resolve. Around midnight, the intensity of the attacks began to slow. The Zulus had taken heavy losses. The defenders, though exhausted and bloodied, were still alive, still shooting. By dawn, the battlefield was silent. The grass was scorched. The earth was red. Bodies lay in heaps around the mission. The British, against every odd, had survived. Out of 150 defenders, 17 were dead and 15 wounded. Zulu casualties were estimated at over 350 killed, possibly hundreds more wounded. The defenders had fired nearly 20,000 rounds. They had repelled an army 25 times their size. When news of the defense reached Britain, it stunned the Empire. Rorke's Drift became a symbol of heroism. The Queen awarded 11 Victoria Crosses to its defenders, the highest military honor in the British Empire. more than any other single engagement in history. Bromhead and Chard were celebrated, though many survivors struggled with the trauma for the rest of their lives. But for the Zulu warriors, this was not a disgrace. Many of them had fought bravely at Isandlwana just hours before. Their culture honored courage, and their tactics had been bold, even at Rorke's drift. The Anglo-Zulu War would continue, but the moment had shifted. Rorke's drift was more than just a battle. It was a turning point, a reminder that morale, discipline, and unity can defy the impossible. It proved that courage is not measured in numbers, but in resolve. It showed that even when outnumbered and outgunned, men can still write their names into history. But it also showed something else: the terrible cost of war, burned flesh, lifelong wounds, haunted memories, and the painful question, was it all necessary? Over a century later, the defense of Rorke's drift still echoes. It is studied in military academies. It is honored in British folklore. And it is remembered in the land of the Zulus, where both valor and loss still linger. 150 against 4,000, and they held.